Right. So get ready because we're about to go deep today. We're diving into turning hardship into, I guess, not just strength, but a real launching pad for growth.
Okay.
We're talking all about modern Stoicism. And I know that word can sound kind of intimidating, but believe me, it's not about, suppressing your feelings or becoming like some emotionless robot or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about learning how to navigate all those challenges in a way that honestly just makes you more resilient, wiser, and I'd say ultimately more fulfilled.
Right. And so who better to kind of guide us on this journey than people who've really walked the walk?
Yeah.
So we've got a fascinating lineup today. We've got Michael Jordan, Keanu Reeves, Cristiano Ronaldo, Oprah Winfrey, and Elon Musk.
Wow.
And I mean, these are people from completely different worlds.
Totally.
But they've all got this underlying current of Stoicism.
Right.
Like not just enduring tough times, but using them to become something even bigger and better.
Yeah. What I think is so compelling is that none of these people are like card-carrying Stoics.
Yeah.
Like in the traditional sense.
Right.
But their lives, their choices, the way they've handled some incredibly difficult situations, it all just screams Stoic philosophy.
It really does. All right, so let's kick things off with Michael Jordan.
Okay.
I mean, this is the guy who got cut from his high school basketball team.
Oh, wow.
Can you even imagine that?
It's hard to picture.
Michael Jordan.
I know.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to picture.
It is.
But it's this early setback that I think really highlights the power of amor fati.
Okay.
This whole idea of not just accepting your fate, but loving it.
Wow.
Embracing it fully.
Okay.
And for Jordan, this wasn't some passive resignation.
Right.
He used that rejection as fuel. He channeled it into hours of just relentless practice, pushing himself harder than anyone else.
I mean, it makes you wonder, would he have become the legend he is without that initial failure?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who missed over 9,000 shots in his career, lost almost 300 games.
Right.
And yet he said, I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. How do you even wrap your head around that kind of resilience?
It's about understanding that setbacks, even failures on a grand scale, they're not the opposite of success. They're part of the process. It's like in Jordan's mind, those missed shots weren't failures, they were data points.
Interesting.
Each one brought him closer to mastering his craft.
So instead of letting those misses define him, he used them to refine his approach.
Exactly.
Okay, so for everyone listening, how can we take this idea of amor fati, of embracing our own setbacks, and actually apply it to our lives?
Right.
I mean, it can't be easy to just flip a switch and suddenly love every challenge that comes your way.
Absolutely. It's not about toxic positivity or pretending that everything is sunshine and roses.
Right.
It's about recognizing that within every single difficult situation, there's an opportunity for growth, there's a lesson to be learned, there's a chance to become more resilient. It's about asking yourself, okay, this happened now. What can I learn from it? How can I use this to my advantage?
I love that. Okay, so we've got this incredible example of turning rejection into fuel. And that actually leads us perfectly to Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
I mean, talk about facing setbacks.
Right.
Early in her career, she was fired from her job as a news anchor.
What?
Because someone decided she didn't have the look for television.
It's amazing how often those in positions of power have such limited vision.
Isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
But thankfully, Oprah didn't let their narrow perspective define her potential.
Thankfully not. No.
She absolutely didn't. Instead of internalizing that rejection, she went on to create her own style, her own platform, ultimately becoming one of the most influential figures of our time.
She did.
It makes you wonder, would she have reached such incredible heights had she stayed on that path that was laid out for her?
Yeah.
The one that didn't truly fit.
That's the power of choosing your own path, a core tenet of Stoicism. Oprah embodied this idea of focusing on what you can control,
Right.
which is essentially your own actions, your responses, your attitude.
Right.
She couldn't control those early rejections, but she could control how she reacted to them.
Right.
And she chose to build something extraordinary.
It's almost like that initial setback became her superpower.
I love that.
It forced her to forge her own way.
Yeah.
And in doing so, she tapped into something truly unique and powerful.
Yeah.
But it does make you think, how do you cultivate that level of self-belief when the world is telling you no?
It's not easy, and it's certainly not something that happens overnight, but I think Oprah's story and even Michael Jordan's point to this crucial Stoic principle. the importance of focusing inward.
Okay.
It's about cultivating that inner strength, that unwavering belief in your own potential, regardless of what external validation you're receiving or not receiving.
So we've got amor fati, loving your fate, using setbacks as fuel.
Right.
We've got choosing your own path, even when it means going against the grain. And now let's shift gears a bit and talk about facing immense personal tragedy.
Okay.
And we're talking about Keanu Reeves.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is a man who has endured unimaginable loss.
Loss that would truly break most people.
I know.
His father abandoned him as a child. His best friend died from a drug overdose. He lost a daughter who was stillborn. And then his wife died in a car accident.
It's just an unbelievable amount of grief.
It is.
And yet he navigates the world with this quiet strength, this sense of peace.
Right.
He's known for his kindness, his generosity, his humility. It's like he's chosen to embody those Stoic virtues despite or perhaps because of the darkness he's experienced.
It speaks to this profound Stoic idea of accepting what is. Now, this doesn't mean passively resigning yourself to suffering.
Right.
It's about acknowledging the reality of your situation, the things that you cannot change, and then choosing to focus your energy on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, your attitude.
And Keanu Reeves is a perfect example of that.
I think
he could have easily become bitter, withdrawn, resentful.
Right.
But instead, he chose to focus on spreading kindness, on connecting with people, on finding meaning in his work and his relationships.
It's remarkable.
And there's this incredible quote from him that I think perfectly encapsulates this acceptance.
Okay.
When asked about what happens after we die, he simply replied, "I know that the ones who love us will miss us."
Wow.
There's no grand philosophical treatise, no attempt to explain the unexplainable, just a simple, profound statement of acceptance and love.
It's so powerful in its simplicity.
Isn't it? It reminds me of this other core Stoic concept, memento mori, the awareness of death.
Ah, yes. Memento mori. It's not about dwelling on death in a morbid way, but rather using that awareness to fuel a more meaningful life.
Right.
Knowing that our time is finite can be a powerful motivator to prioritize what truly matters, to live with intention, and to appreciate the preciousness of each moment.
It's like, why waste time on things that don't truly matter when you have a limited amount of time to achieve your goals and make an impact? And speaking of making an impact, that brings us to Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay.
Now, this guy's story is all about discipline, about defying the odds. He grew up in poverty. His father struggled with alcoholism, and he had to leave his family at just 12 years old to pursue his soccer dream.
Talk about facing adversity head on.
I know, and what's so remarkable is that while Ronaldo may not have possessed the raw talent of some of his peers, he more than made up for it with sheer hard work and unwavering dedication.
For sure.
I mean, seriously, his training regimen is legendary.
It's inspiring.
I mean, while others were out partying, he was pushing himself to the absolute limit.
Yeah.
And it's clear that this discipline, this unwavering commitment to his craft, is deeply rooted in Stoic principles.
Absolutely. Ronaldo's story embodies the Stoic idea of choosing your path and committing to it wholeheartedly. He didn't lament what he lacked, whether it was financial resources or innate talent. Instead, he focused on what he could control: his effort, his discipline, his dedication to honing his skills.
And that's what ultimately propelled him to the top. It's like he embodied that classic Stoic saying, the obstacle is the way.
Right.
He didn't try to circumvent the challenges in his path.
Yeah.
He met them head on. And in doing so, he forged his own path to greatness.
He really did.
And it's just so powerful.
And it's like fascinating how this ties back into memento mori, you know, the awareness of death.
Right.
It's almost like Ronaldo, by constantly pushing his limits, acknowledging the finite nature of his athletic career,
Right.
he was able to kind of squeeze every ounce of potential out of himself.
That's such an interesting connection. It's like by embracing the reality of our mortality, we can actually unlock a deeper level of drive, like a sense of urgency to really make the most of the time we have.
Exactly. It shifts your perspective. Suddenly those petty annoyances, those moments of doubt, they just fade away in comparison to the bigger picture, you know?
Yeah.
It allows you to focus on what truly matters, on leaving your mark on the world.
Now, before we move on to our final guest, I'm curious, what are some other Stoic principles that you think are particularly relevant for people listening who are maybe, facing their own challenges, big or small?
Well, one that comes to mind immediately is the idea of focusing on what's within our control. It's a fundamental tenet of Stoicism, and it's so incredibly powerful in terms of reducing anxiety and fostering a sense of agency.
So it's not about becoming passive. It's about understanding where you actually have power.
Precisely. The Stoics believed that we should primarily concern ourselves with our own thoughts, actions, and reactions.
Okay.
Not external events, other people's opinions, or things we simply can't influence.
It sounds simple in theory, but in practice, it's got to be one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
How do you just shut out all that external noise, all those things that are constantly vying for our attention and pulling us in different directions?
It's a process, it's a practice, and it's not about achieving some perfect state of detachment.
Right.
It's about recognizing when you're getting caught up in things you can't control and gently redirecting your focus back to what you can influence.
So like Oprah with those TV execs.
Yeah.
She couldn't control their limited vision,
Right.
but she could control how she responded to it,
Exactly.
which ultimately led her to create something far greater than she could ever imagine within the confines of their expectations.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that within every challenge, within every seemingly negative situation, there's an opportunity to exercise that control, to choose your response, to shape your own narrative.
And it's about recognizing that sometimes what seems like a setback is actually a redirection, a push towards a path that's more aligned with your true potential.
Absolutely. It's like the universe is saying, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something else, something that actually plays to your strengths.
Okay, so before we wrap up with our final Stoic superstar, I want to touch on this idea of virtue being the highest good,
Okay.
which I know is another cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. It seems like a pretty lofty concept, though. How does that translate to everyday life for regular people who aren't necessarily trying to become world-famous athletes or entrepreneurs?
Well, the Stoics believed that living a virtuous life, one characterized by wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, was the key to true happiness and fulfillment.
And it's not about achieving some kind of moral perfection, is it?
No, not at all.
It's more about striving to live in alignment with those virtues to make choices that reflect those values.
Exactly. And I think we see this reflected in the lives of all the individuals we've discussed today, even if they wouldn't necessarily label themselves as Stoics.
Right.
You know, Michael Jordan's relentless pursuit of excellence, Keanu Reeves's unwavering kindness and compassion, Cristiano Ronaldo's discipline and work ethic. These are all expressions of those core virtues.
And what's so inspiring is that it's not just about achieving external success. It's about cultivating a sense of inner peace, a feeling of alignment between your actions and your values.
And that's something that's available to all of us regardless of our external circumstances. It's about making those daily choices, big and small, that reflect those virtues that move us closer to becoming the best versions of ourselves.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about embracing our fate, choosing our path, focusing on what we can control, accepting what is, and striving to live virtuously.
We have.
And now for our final guest, the embodiment of audacious goals and relentless perseverance.
Yeah.
We have Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
This is a guy who had 3 failed rocket launches before SpaceX finally achieved success.
Wow.
Most people would throw in the towel after 1, maybe 2,
I know.
but not Musk.
He's a modern-day example of the Stoic ideal of perseverance,
Right.
of not letting setbacks deter you from pursuing your vision.
Right.
It's this unwavering belief in the possibility of achieving something great, even when the odds are stacked against you.
And it's about having that long-term vision, right?
Yeah.
Not getting bogged down by the inevitable short-term obstacles that are going to arise when you're trying to do something truly groundbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Musk's story also highlights the importance of having a strong sense of purpose, a mission that drives you forward even when things get tough. Because let's face it, revolutionizing space travel, pushing the boundaries of technology, that's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
There are going to be setbacks, there are going to be critics, there are going to be moments of doubt.
But it's about having that unwavering belief in your vision, in your ability to overcome those challenges and ultimately achieve what you set out to do. And for our listeners who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by their own goals, whether they're launching a rocket or simply trying to get through a tough week, what's one key takeaway they can glean from Elon Musk's journey?
I think it's about breaking down those big, audacious goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay.
It's about focusing on what you can control in each moment, on making progress one day at a time.
Right.
And it's about celebrating those small wins along the way, because even the most monumental achievements are built upon a series of smaller victories.
And it's about not being afraid to fail right, because failure is often just a stepping stone to something even greater. I mean, look at SpaceX. Those early failures, they were crucial learning experiences that ultimately paved the way for their success.
Exactly. It's about reframing failure, not as a sign of defeat, but as an opportunity to learn to iterate, to refine your approach. It's about seeing setbacks as data points, as valuable feedback that can help you course correct and ultimately achieve your goals.
So as we wrap up our exploration of these 5 incredible individuals, I'm wondering, what's the one thing that really stands out to you, the common thread that connects them all, despite their vastly different backgrounds and achievements?
What strikes me is their unwavering commitment to growth. They're all individuals who embrace challenge, who view obstacles as opportunities for learning and evolution. They're constantly pushing their boundaries, refining their craft, striving to become better versions of themselves.
And it's not about achieving some kind of external validation or reaching a certain level of success. It's about that internal drive, that commitment to living a life of purpose and meaning, to making a positive impact on the world.
And I think that's a really inspiring message for our listeners. It's a reminder that we all have the potential to embody these Stoic virtues, to cultivate this resilience and strength within ourselves. It's not about becoming a Michael Jordan or an Oprah Winfrey. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves, whatever that may look like.
And that brings us to the most important part of this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
It's great to hear these inspiring stories. The real magic happens when we start to apply these principles to our own lives.
Right.
So I want to pose a question to our listeners. What's one challenge you're currently facing that you could reframe using a Stoic lens?
It could be a setback at work, a personal struggle, a relationship issue, a fear you're grappling with, or even just the daily frustrations of modern life.
Yeah.
Take a moment to reflect on it, to really examine it through this Stoic framework.
So, could you find a way to use that obstacle as fuel for growth?
Yeah.
Could you choose to see it as like a test of your character, an opportunity to practice those virtues we've been talking about?
Right. Maybe it's a chance to exercise, your patience, your courage, your discipline, or your compassion. Maybe it's about kind of shifting your perspective, focusing on what you can control and just letting go of those things you can't.
And, remember, we've seen from the lives of Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Keanu Reeves, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Elon Musk, some of the greatest triumphs, they arise from the ashes of our most difficult challenges.
It's true.
It's not about avoiding hardship altogether,
right?
But it's about learning to navigate it in a way that makes us, stronger, wiser, and ultimately more fulfilled.
And the beauty of Stoicism is that it's not some, rigid set of rules or a one-size-fits-all approach. It's a framework for living, a set of tools that you can adapt to your own unique circumstances and challenges.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
You have the power to choose your response, to shape your narrative, and to ultimately determine the outcome of your story. Embrace your inner Stoic and turn those obstacles into opportunities for growth, wisdom, and lasting fulfillment.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deeper.